Hey, this is Mark Tornillo from Accept, and you're listening to the Nothing Shocking podcast.
Want to know what's going on in the world of music? Then tune in to the Nothing Shocking podcast, a non-genre based, all ages friendly rock and roll program. Join us weekly for interviews with all your favorite rock stars from the mainstream to the underground. You can find us at nothingshocking.libsyn.com or anywhere you download podcasts.
We're putting the band back together.
The numbers all go to 11.
I'm talking about bands that rock. Led Zeppelin. What about Sabbath? AC/DC. Motorhead.
Does that mean it's louder? Isn't it any louder?
Well, it's one louder, isn't it?
We're not worthy. We're not worthy.
Why don't you just make 10 louder and make 10 be the top number and make that a little louder?
These go to 11.
I get up off the ground and raise my head. Days like this, think I should be dead. One for Satan, two for me. Let's cheat the devil, it's fun, don't you agree?
Welcome to the Nothing Shocking podcast. I'm your co-host, Jeff Untied, and with me in Dog Bowl Studios is
Coach Nez.
You can find the Nothing Shocking podcast on Libsyn or any podcatchers. Like our Facebook page or follow us on Twitter at NoShockPod.
You can also find the Nothing Shocking podcast on Rock Rage Radio every Sunday morning at 7 a.m. Central Time. Our sponsor is Ragged Records, located in downtown Rock Island, Illinois, and downtown Davenport, Iowa. We would like to thank the Hong Kong Sleepover for allowing us to use their music for our intro and bumper ending. Tonight's guest is
Mark Tornillo of Accept.
Yes, Mark Tornillo has been an Accept for the last 5 albums.
Yeah.
This is the 5th. What's the name of that new album?
Too Mean to Die.
Yes, and they're planning on touring this album. When was that?
I believe next year, 2023.
2023. So, very entertaining interview, very insightful. Let's get to it.
All right.
Good night. All right, Mark, welcome to the Nothing Shocking podcast. I'd like to introduce you to my co-host, Jeff Untied.
Hey, Mark. It's going to be
Jeff,
fun.
How you doing?
Good. It's going to be fun to talk to you tonight.
I hope so.
Yeah, all right.
I'll try and make it fun.
Well, back in January of 2021, Accept released Too Mean to Die. Can you talk a little bit more about the release of this album during the height of the COVID pandemic?
Yeah, well, it was it was quite the decision whether to do it or not. I mean, we had it. We actually were recording that album when COVID hit. Like we had written things like The Undertaker and stuff like that long before COVID.
Okay.
But as 20, I guess that was still 2020 then, early in 2020, we were recording. Andy Sneap was here in the United States. We were in Nashville, and it started getting bad, and we were going, what are we going to do? And finally, he and I both said, look, if we don't leave soon, we're not going to get home, because they were shutting down the airports and closing off everything. So he changed his flight, went home. I changed my flight, went home. And luckily we got there. I flew into Newark Airport, and which is, it's a hub.
Right.
It's gigantic. The whole Terminal C is United. I flew in on United, got off. There was 3 people in the terminal. Seriously, I've never seen anything like it in my life.
Wow.
Scared the living shit out of me. So, so we recorded through this whole thing. We obviously stopped then, but we had a lot of it in the bag at that point. Andy flew home, and then the Priest tour got canceled due to COVID. So he wound up coming back in July. Actually, no, it didn't. I went back to Nashville in July, and we did it remotely with him. That's right. I totally forgot. We set up this whole remote studio thing between ours and his. And it was weird because the bandwidth really wasn't enough to be able to see each other and make it work. So we wound up setting up a Zoom meeting on the side so we could see and talk to each other and record, and he uploaded the files to him, and he could do whatever he wanted with them. It was very strange, but but it worked. We got it done.
Oh, fantastic!
Did you guys do on any of your previous albums do any remote recording like that, or do you guys prefer back in the studio?
It was always done, in studio. I mean, there were certain things that may have been done, guitar solos and things like that, after the fact in the studio and then flown in, but nothing like this. Yeah. This was ridiculous. I mean, Andy's a hands-on producer, so he wants to, especially with vocals and drums and things like that, he has his way of, he wants to get his 2 cents in and wants you to do what he wants you to do, and works great for me because he drags performances out of me that I would never think of,
Very good. Too Mean to Die is the 5th album to feature yourself as the lead singer. Can you talk a little bit more about the creative process for this album? Has it varied any differently than the works of the previous 4?
Well, this was totally different because it was the very first Accept album ever without Peter Baltus.
Mm-hmm.
And Peter was a huge writing influence. So obviously, he and Wolf were partners for years and years. So it was a whole new ball game. But everyone stepped up. I mean, we literally collaborated a lot. Gabby got involved. Deffy, Martin Motnick got involved and came up with a lot of good stuff as well. And Wolf and I, obviously, a lot of different things happened this time. I mean, I wrote lyrics, sent lyrics, and songs came back. They wrote songs, sent them to me, and I sent lyrics back. Obviously, we were doing a lot of things remotely, writing-wise.
Sure.
And then we all wound up in Nashville to do the demos, and it turned out to be that way. Undertaker is one of those songs that, like I said, it was written before the pandemic, but it was something that it's very funny. I'll tell you the story. Gabby, Wolf's wife, sent me a text when we were texting back and forth. We were on tour, and we were talking about something, and she just texted me. She goes, "Well, the Undertaker's a busy man." And I just texted her back. I forget exactly what I said. It was either, "Yep, sifts us all like grains of sand," or something to that effect. And then she sent me another line. I went, "Oh, it's on now." So I went and I wrote the poem. I wrote a poem. It was 3 stanzas. Figured out I would never use that as an Accept song or any song, actually. And then when we were Wolf was looking for ideas for the new album while we were still on tour in 2019, I sent it to him, and he was like, "What the hell is this?" I was like, "This is fantastic." Yeah. And a couple weeks later, he sent me the song. And it was obviously changed around a little from what I had written, the music-wise, so I had to adjust the lyrics. But damn, it wasn't the way I was hearing it. And I was totally on board with it. So,
oh, cool.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite songs on the album.
Yeah, it's kind of ironic, but yeah.
Well, Overnight Sensation is my favorite track on Too Mean to Die. Can you talk a little bit more about the creation of that song?
That was something that Wolf had come up with an idea. He wanted to write a song about just on the whole YouTube generation and the fact that, you really don't have to practice anymore. You just, as long as you're sitting at home, and you have a computer, wow, you've got, your 15 minutes of fame no matter what. As long as you can come up with something good enough. I mean, he wanted to call it Annoying YouTube Kids or something like that. And I was like, that's not going to work.
Right.
But let me think on it. And I said, it needs to be something like, one night or overnight sensation or something. And that's all I said. And then the music came back, and I wrote the lyrics.
Oh, it's such a cool song.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a way cool song. Philip plays his ass off in that song.
Oh, absolutely.
The dueling guitar solos. I love this now that we get to do this again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Talk a little bit about like how does it work for you guys with picking out like the opening track, Zombie Apocalypse? How did you guys approach going through the songs that you picked out for this album and deciding which one's the opening track?
On the album, you're talking?
Yes.
We normally don't. That's usually Andy.
Okay.
He's the producer, so he'll pick the track. That he normally picks the order. He'll send it to us, and we'll okay it. But normally nobody fucks with him. So.
That's pretty cut and dry.
Wolf might. I don't. And I could, but normally he's just right. So, I mean, the guy's a genius. So.
Absolutely. Has the songwriting and recording process for you, since you've joined the band way back in the Blood of Nations era of Accept, has it changed at all? Has the dynamic changed at all as you've been in the band now for 5 albums, or is it pretty much status quo? It stays the same. Don't mess with it if it works, right?
Well, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Right.
But when we were writing Blood of the Nations, we really had no idea what we were going to do. I mean, we started out writing songs, and Peter and Wolf and I were actually in a studio up here in Pennsylvania, and we were doing demos, writing songs. Then Andy got involved. It was really strange how Andy got involved as well, but he had heard through the grapevine that Accept was getting back together, and he went, I have to produce this. I have to. And reached out to mutual friends of actually Rich Ward from Fozzy. Andy used to be in Fozzy.
Mm-hmm.
And he and Ed Aborn reached out to Wolf about Andy, and Wolf was like, Andy Sneap, who's he? I have no idea who this guy is, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then started looking into it and found out who Andy was, and realized that he was an accomplished producer, and they set up a meeting, and they met and hit it off very well. But when he played him the demos that we were doing, Andy was like, oh, no. No. This isn't going to work. So he goes, let's do this. So he took Wolf and Peter aside one day and played them all of the old Accept albums, every track on every album, and just said, and went through song by song and went, this is what we want, this is what we don't want. We want this, we want the 80s Accept sound, we don't want this or this or this. This is what we want. And the whole writing changed from that point on. They came in one night with Teutonic Terror, the music, and that was the working title, Teutonic Terror. And Wolf basically said to me, he goes, that's just a working title. Obviously, it can't be the title of the song. And I was like, what are you, fucking crazy? I've got this. Leave me alone. Just let me go. And I literally wrote it in his basement on a Stairmaster, just listening to it over and over again. And I'm going, give him the axe. Give him the axe. And when I wrote the lyrics, I showed it to Andy, and he's like, come on, we're going to go and sing this right now. And then, wound up taking it upstairs for everyone to listen to, and was like, oh, my God, this is incredible. So, but it's changed. It's changed in the fact now that we have a formula. Oh. We didn't have a formula then, So we try to stick to the formula now as much as we can, but like I said, we go back and forth. Sometimes there's music, sometimes there's lyrics, sometimes there's just a song title, and we'll throw ideas around.
Nice.
It is what it is. You never know until you're done.
Absolutely,
yeah.
Absolutely.
What's the band's process for picking your album covers? Do you guys sit down and go through a bunch of different pictures, or somebody has an idea set before it starts, or how's it work?
As far as the covers themselves, the artwork?
Yeah.
Wolf's been working with the same guy now for a while, since, wow. And I'm a bad person because I don't know his name off the top of my head. But this guy just comes up with the most amazing things ever since Stalingrad.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, we had a really great album cover for Stalingrad. They wouldn't let us use it. So We won't go there. But Blind Rage, and from then on in, Rise of Chaos is a gorgeous album cover, and so is this one.
Yeah,
that's we talk about it, but it's mostly between Wolf and the artist. So
very good,
nice.
And then they, obviously the backdrops come after that, and there's a whole lot of artwork involved, and shirts and merch and everything else. So
absolutely. As we look toward the summer season and the COVID restrictions are loosening by the dozens, it seems like daily.
Praise God.
Yeah, absolutely. What can we expect from Accept as far as tours and festivals go? What's the plan?
Well, the tour was obviously canceled again. We've yet to tour this album.
Mm-hmm.
We've done a few one-offs in the United States without Uwe because he couldn't get in.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the beauty of having 3 guitar players now. So the actual album tour is now put off until 2023, January. The dates are all booked, but we will start doing summer festivals in May.
Wow.
So we'll be playing in Europe all throughout the summer.
Oh, thank God.
Okay.
At festivals.
Thank God.
Whether we're going to do anything more here, I hope that we do. I really do. Yeah. We really need to tour the States for real. It's been a while.
Absolutely. Jeff, do you want the next one, or do you want me to take this next one? Well, I guess as, Accept has been a band that's been well established for a long time. As far as the touring methodology goes, what is the band's preference, these days? Is it the fly-out dates? Is it, do you try to keep it to weekend warrior type stuff, or do you still believe in getting in the bus and driving all over the United States and to one destination to the other? How does it work now, the touring dynamic for the band work now?
Well, if it was a full-blown tour, it would be bus. In Europe, that's what we still do. If it's a real tour, we're playing 5 days a week.
Mm-hmm.
At least 4.
Yes.
Hopefully 5. And as long as it's within the parameters, that you can get there overnight, it's bus.
Sure.
The same thing would be, in the United States if we did a full-blown tour. If it's just a weekend, you're not renting a bus, you're flying. So, we have a full set of gear in the U.S. We have a full set of gear in Europe. We also have fly gear in both places.
Oh, nice.
So you do what you have to do. Like when we go to South America, obviously that's fly gear.
Mm-hmm.
You can't drive there. Same thing with Australia and Japan. You take your fly gear.
Sure.
So it's but the preference is to be on a bus and have your truck and your own gear every night.
And it's so fresh to hear that, because we talk to so many artists on a weekly basis that, their touring preference now, as, they've gotten a little bit older, they just like that, fly out on a Thursday, do a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, maybe Sunday show, or however it works, and they fly home for 4 days or whatever else. But it's still so refreshing to see bands still get on a bus and do it. It just seems like it's a lost art these days.
Yeah, I love that life. The whole touring bus life, the whole, that's what it's all about. And the crowds are there, and it's playing every night. I don't want to have days off when we're out there. I want to, I do once in a while, but I want to try and sing as many nights as possible. It's better for my throat that way. It's better for me that way. Mentally, having a bunch of days off in a strange place, you're like, I could be home.
Absolutely, Jeff.
But having a day off in a wonderful place like Amsterdam or Sofia or somewhere like that, that doesn't suck either.
You got it.
I was just going to ask you about the live album Symphonic Terror live at Wacken. Can you talk a little bit about? Is there any stories behind the making of that album or that tour?
That was a godsend. That was like a bucket list thing that we all wanted to do. And luckily, it turned into a tour as well. So it was actually the last tour we did.
Yeah.
Was in 2019 that summer with the orchestras, different orchestras, But that Vakken show was just incredible. The Czech National Orchestra is just insane, and that conductor is just an amazing just character. If you watch the conductor and during the show, he was just off the charts.
Oh.
And had such a good time, and we had such a good time, obviously. But like, especially for like myself and Christopher is another one. He grew up playing in orchestras. He grew up playing drum and bugle corps and playing in bands. I grew up playing the tuba in orchestra. So, it's always been a thing I wanted to do.
Yeah,
Could never would have done it with T.T. Quick or something like that. But but Accept has that classical vibe. Besides the obviously the metal vibe, but there's so many classical elements to the music.
Oh, fantastic. Well, many of our listeners may not realize that you're in a cover band called Gotham, featuring yourself and Paul Crook. Can you give our listeners some insight on the origins of Gotham?
Well, Gotham was actually a band that they had in the 90s. I'm guessing it was Paul and Scott Metaxas from Prophet, and I don't remember who the singer was at that point. I'm not sure of his name. Craig Scappa is a drummer, still is. And it was just an industrial thing that they did. I mean, it's all, was all Manson and Rob Zombie and Korn, you name it. Really, really, really heavy stuff. And they hadn't played for years. And Scott and I were hanging out one day, and Paul came over, and he was just like, they were talking about putting Gotham back together. And I just said, hell, I'll sing. They were like, what? Yeah, why not? Step out of my comfort zone a little bit, why not? And so we do. But I've also injected a bunch of AC/DC into it, and some Aerosmith, and stuff like that. But we heavy it up. But we do like mashups. So there's we call it Lead Zombies, the immigrant song to Rob Zombie's 1965.
Oh, cool.
Do it in your head. It works. Actually, you can go to it's on YouTube if you want to Google it. It's like I said, Gotham Lead Zombie. But we do some other mashups like that. We do a cover version of Twilight Zone that we mashed up. We do a lot of cool stuff. It's just a lot of fun. We go out and have fun, make a few dollars, have some drinks, close to home.
Oh, so cool.
Yeah.
And Paul Crook is just an amazing musician. You remember him from Anthrax and obviously now Meatloaf, and he runs Meatloaf's Neverland band. Neverland Express. He's been Meat's music director for the last 15 years. So this past weekend, we went Friday night, my wife and I, and met her. Her brother lives in Maine. Him and his wife came down. We met at Mohegan Sun in Connecticut because Bat was playing there. The first show after Meat passed away. And it was amazing. It was just amazing. I actually got up and sang a song with Caleb. It was pretty. Caleb Johnson is the singer in Bat.
Yeah.
American Idol.
Yep.
And it's the real Neverland band. They're just absolutely incredible. So.
Oh, so cool.
Yeah.
So cool.
Good time. Go check them out.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Yeah. I just want to take it way back in the time machine. What you probably talked about this a lot in other interviews, but for our listeners that might not know your story, how'd you get into music? What started it for you?
My grandfather started it for me. Sat me behind a piano when I was 2 years old. Made me play, taught me how to sing.
Awesome.
And pretty much been going ever since there.
Well, I wanted to bring T.T. Quick to the conversation. It's something you've been a part of since, 1979, I believe.
I'm the original.
The original.
I'm the only original.
The Ink album being the last studio album in 2000, I believe. What is the status of T.T. Quick now? Are you guys still making new music here and there, or how's it working out?
No, it's pretty much defunct, but we will, for the right purpose, get together, and do a fundraiser, something like that, a benefit show. That's really all we've done recently. I mean, I'm too busy. Everybody else has different lives now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just not. It's kind of like beating a dead horse, I think. I mean, we probably could go out and do festival shows and stuff like that if we wanted to, but I just assume I'd rather let sleeping dogs lay. I enjoyed the hell out of it when it happened. I mean, we were the house band at Lemoore for years, so we were right in the thick of it.
I guess that kind of leads me to the next question. We've had many artists that were from the New York, New Jersey scene, the rock and roll scene of the height of the 70s and 80s, and they talk candidly about that heyday, and they're sad about the state of the rock and roll industry in New York and New Jersey area. Can you talk a little bit more about your time, being the house band of Lemoore and in that scene at the time?
Even before that, we were TT Quick at that point was playing 6 nights a week, sometimes doing 2 shows on a Sunday, do a matinee or something. It was crazy. We had a house down shore in Brielle that we lived in. We called it the Bat Cave. And we would literally, especially my sound man and I, Bob, we would come home, from whatever the gig was, get home around 5 a.m. We'd go right to the beach and go to sleep. So usually you got some beach time, go to happy hour, go home, take a quick nap, go to the gig. Every night, 6 nights a week. It was insane. But we drove like crazy, man. Anywhere from Connecticut to Long Island to upstate New York to Western Pennsylvania, Ohio sometimes. But Jersey was always you could play in New Jersey 6 nights a week.
Oh wow!
And Staten Island.
Yeah.
We called Staten Island was overseas. We called that overseas. Where you playing tonight? Overseas. It's factory.
Oh, so cool.
But it was the coolest thing ever, man. I mean, and places like Edmonton, you'd have 3 bands. We always said, the things about those places, if you can't get laid and get in a fight, you did something wrong.
Yeah, I guess do you ever foresee the rock scene coming back to the forefront of that area ever again, or do you feel like is it like a lost cause?
If we take all the lawyers and throw them off a cliff, maybe. Other than that, probably not.
Oh, yeah. Bummer. All right, so
that's the whole. That's what killed the industry.
For sure. So back to Too Mean to Die. How many songs did you guys write? I think there's 11 songs on the album. How many songs did you guys write? And do you guys take songs from?
There's probably, I'm going to say 4 or 5 songs that didn't make it. That's usually the way it is. We usually, only have to weed out a few.
Oh, very good. One last question for you, then we'll leave you alone because I know we've been bothering you for quite a while here. So
hey, I'm having a good time.
Well, thank you. You're a New York Mets fan. We're Cubs fans. And I do that's fun.
Well, hey, I'm a baseball fan. For God's sake, can we get the strike over with?
It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
it's unbelievable.
It is. It truly is.
And especially for us poor Mets fans, where we actually might have a team this year. We have an owner. We have a manager. We have Max Scherzer.
Yeah,
and we can't go play. Come on, give me a break. We have DeGrom and Scherzer.
Yep.
And Buck Showalter, and we can't go play.
You can't go play. I guess the question I wanted to ask you, during your busy schedule with Accept, how many games do you try to attend during the summertime?
Wow. It depends. I mean, I really only went to 2 last year, and we weren't playing. but it was very difficult to get to games then. You know, I want to go to spring training this year. I'm ready to go. There is none.
There is none.
Yeah.
Well,
that's the ones I want to go to. I mean, I'm actually luckily for me, through Eddie Trunk, I'm friends with Mike Piazza, and we played at Mike's 30th birthday party down in the Village when he was still on the Mets.
Oh, so
and
cool.
been friends ever since. So, and he always goes to spring training. So, I mean, I think we might have a, connection if we go down there. So, but no.
Well, let's hope this strike gets over with. But we're kind of ran out of our
They did reinstate Old Timers Day. You saw that, though, right?
What's
that?
Mets
Mets are having an Old Timers game this year.
Oh, they are?
Yeah.
Oh, very cool.
Yep.
Well, we've kind of come down to our allotted time. Before we let you go for the evening, is there anything that you would like to promote or plug that we didn't cover tonight?
Buy the Too Mean to Die album.
Yeah.
If you're interested in retro TT Quick stuff, there's a page on seasonsofmist.com. I think it's /TT Quick, where you can get some of our retro T-shirts, Medal of Honor shirts, and good stuff. And other than that, go to acceptworldwide.com /tour dates. And that's where you figure out what festivals we're playing at this summer.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, this is how it's going to work out. We have about 4 weeks worth of episodes released before yours. So we're looking at about a month. Jeff, the editing wizard, will get this all cleaned up for us. And then when it's all cleaned up, I'll make sure I send it to you immediately.
Cool.
And if you could share it to your socials, that'd be fantastic.
You got it.
Appreciate it.
Hey, thank you, guys.
Take care of yourself.
You too. Have a good night.
Be well.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
take from you, then you plug out both their eyes. They roll the dice. Take your chances.
Welcome to the night. You think you know Night Demon? Then the Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast is for you. Step into the darkness as we peel back the curtain to give you an unprecedented, all-access look into the mind and the heart of the demon. We're talking band history, song analysis, studio anecdotes, stories from the road. It's everything a diehard Night Demon fan could want and more. This is the only place to learn the inside scoop, the deep dive trivia, the untold tales from the band members themselves and those closest to the Night Demon story. Need more? The Sacred Night Demon Crypt will be pried open to reveal demo recordings that have never before seen the light of day, all with in-depth commentary by the band and the people who were there for the writing and recording process. This is a gold mine, a treasure trove of all things Night Demon. Head over to nightdemon.net or wherever you listen to podcasts.